Classmates mock poor girl and force her to kneel, not knowing she was the CEO's beloved. Tell us where you're watching from before we kick off the story. Enjoy every moment. Emily Parker rushed through the crowded office floor, clutching her design portfolio to her chest. Her honey blonde hair was pulled back in a messy bun, wisps escaping around her face as she hurried toward the conference room. She was late, again, and Vanessa Lewis would never let her hear the end of it. "Look who finally decided to join us," Vanessa announced as Emily slipped through the door. Her perfectly manicured nails tapped impatiently against the polished mahogany table. "Nice of you to grace us with your presence, Parker." Emily's cheeks flushed hot with embarrassment. "I'm sorry, the twins had a doctor's appointment and—" "Save the single mom excuses," Vanessa cut her off. "Some of us managed to be professionals without dragging our personal problems into work." The other designers averted their eyes, uncomfortable, but unwilling to challenge Vanessa, the department head's favorite. Emily swallowed hard and took her seat, trying to make herself invisible. "Now, as I was saying before we were interrupted," Vanessa continued, "the Westridge account is crucial. We need fresh, innovative designs that will wow them." Her gaze swept the room before landing on Emily with a predatory smile. "Parker, since you're so special you can arrive whenever you please, why don't you share your portfolio first?" Emily's hands trembled as she opened her folder. She had worked through countless nights on these designs, sacrificing precious hours of sleep after tucking Lily and Ethan into bed. Her twins were her world, her reason for enduring this daily humiliation. "These are interesting," Vanessa said after glancing at the first few pages, "but entirely unsuitable for a client of this caliber." With a dismissive flick, she pushed the portfolio away. "This is what happens when we hire people who can't fully commit to their careers." A heaviness settled in Emily's chest as 5 years of similar comments replayed in her mind. 5 years of struggling to prove herself while raising twins alone. 5 years since that magical night with a handsome stranger who had disappeared by morning, leaving only memories and, though he never knew, 2 perfect children. What Emily didn't notice was the tall figure who had paused outside the glass conference room, his attention caught by the scene unfolding inside. Maxwell Thompson had just returned to America after 5 years abroad, expanding his family's business empire. His steel blue eyes narrowed as he watched the interaction, a flicker of recognition crossing his face when he glimpsed the woman being humiliated. Little did any of them know that everything was about to change, their lives interconnected by secrets, lost love, and 2 innocent children who were about to bring a powerful truth to light. Maxwell Thompson stood frozen outside the conference room, his mind racing. There was something hauntingly familiar about the woman being berated. Those gentle eyes, that determined set of her jaw, they stirred memories from 5 years ago. "Mr. Thompson?" His assistant's voice broke through his thoughts. "Your meeting starts in 5 minutes." Maxwell nodded absently, his gaze still fixed on Emily. "Who is that woman? The one being targeted by the brunette?" "Emily Parker, sir. She's an assistant designer. Been with the company for almost 5 years. 5 years. The timing couldn't be coincidental." "Tell the board I'll be late," Maxwell said, straightening his custom Italian suit. "I need to make a detour." Inside the conference room, Vanessa's torment continued. "Since your designs are clearly subpar, maybe you should demonstrate your other talents." Vanessa's voice dripped with malice. "Show everyone how you beg for forgiveness when you mess up." Emily stared in disbelief. "What?" "On your knees, Parker. Show us how you've managed to keep your job despite your mediocrity." The room fell silent. Emily's throat tightened, tears threatening to spill. "This is inappropriate," she whispered. "What's inappropriate is wasting company resources on charity cases." Vanessa stepped closer. "Kneel, or clean out your desk." Emily thought of Lily and Ethan waiting at kindergarten, their innocent faces lighting up when she collected them. She couldn't lose this job. With trembling legs, she slowly began to lower herself. The door swung open. "What's happening here?" The commanding voice silenced the room instantly. Emily froze, half kneeling as every head turned toward the imposing figure in the doorway. "Mr. Thompson." Vanessa's complexion paled. "We weren't expecting you until next week." Maxwell's piercing gaze moved from Vanessa to Emily, lingering on her face. I decided to return early, apparently just in time. Emily straightened, her cheeks burning with humiliation. This was Maxwell Thompson? The absent CEO whose name dominated every corner of the building? Meeting adjourned, Maxwell announced. Ms. Lewis, my office now. As everyone scrambled to leave, Maxwell approached Emily. Ms. Parker, is it? A word, please. Up close, there was something achingly familiar about him. Something that stirred memories of a moonlit night and promises whispered in darkness. I apologize for what you've endured, he said quietly. That ends today. Emily looked into his steel blue eyes and felt a jolt of recognition. No, it couldn't be. Could it? Emily stood frozen as Maxwell Thompson dismissed the room. His intense gaze lingered on her face, searching for something. Recognition? Confirmation? She couldn't tell. Ms. Parker, he said, his voice softer now. I'd like to discuss your position at Thompson Enterprises. Her heart sank. Despite his intervention, she was still going to be fired. Mr. Thompson, I know my arrival was late today, but my children... You have children? The question came quickly, almost eagerly. Emily hesitated. Yes, twins, they're 5. Something flashed across his face. Surprise, calculation, perhaps both. 5 years old, he repeated carefully. And their father? Not in the picture, she replied stiffly. This was hardly appropriate conversation with the CEO she'd just met. Maxwell nodded, seemingly lost in thought. Then with sudden decisiveness, I'm restructuring the design department. Vanessa Lewis will no longer be supervising you. Relief flooded through Emily. Thank you, sir. And I'm promoting you to lead designer for the Westridge project. Emily gasped. But I'm just an assistant designer. Not anymore. His smile transformed his severe features, creating an odd sense of déjà vu. I've seen your portfolio. Your work is exceptional. My portfolio? But how? I make it my business to review the work of key employees. He glanced at his watch. I have another meeting. We'll discuss details tomorrow. As he turned to leave, Emily found her voice. Mr. Thompson, have we met before? He paused, studying her with those penetrating eyes. Perhaps. Life has a way of bringing the right people together eventually, doesn't it? After he left, Emily collapsed into a chair, her mind spinning. The way he looked at her, his voice, even his scent, expensive cologne with undertones of sandalwood, triggered memories she'd locked away. A chance meeting at a company retreat, a night of passionate connection, promises to meet again. And then nothing. Just disappearance and silence. No, she was being ridiculous. Maxwell Thompson couldn't be the man from that night. The universe wasn't that cruel. Or that poetic. Her phone buzzed with a text from the twins' kindergarten. Ethan had a fever. Work would have to wait. As she rushed to gather her things, Richard Blackwood, Thompson's executive vice president, appeared in the doorway. His smile didn't reach his cold eyes. Emily Parker, he said, his voice smooth as oil. I understand. You've caught my cousin's attention. Your cousin. Maxwell and I grew up together. Richard stepped closer. He's always had a weakness for rescuing people. Don't read too much into it. Something in his tone made Emily's skin crawl. I should go. My son is sick. Ah, yes, you're twins. Fascinating how much they resemble our family. Wouldn't you say? Emily froze. What are you implying? Richard's smile widened. Nothing at all. We're just having a friendly chat about coincidences. As Emily hurried away, she didn't see Richard's expression harden, nor hear him mutter, "This complicates everything." Emily rushed through the kindergarten doors, heart pounding. The school nurse greeted her with a sympathetic smile. Ethan's fever is 101. I gave him children's Tylenol, but he should go home. In the nurse's office, Ethan sat with flushed cheeks while Lily hovered protectively beside him. The moment they spotted Emily, Both children brightened. "Mommy!" they called, in unison. Kneeling, Emily pulled them close, inhaling their sweet scent. "Let's get you home, sweethearts." Outside, rain began to fall. Emily groaned, realizing she'd left her umbrella at the office in her hurry. With Ethan in her arms and Lily clutching her hand, she prepared to make a dash for the bus stop. A sleek black car pulled up, and the window rolled down. "Need a ride?" Maxwell Thompson asked. Emily hesitated. "Mr. Thompson? How did you—" "I was heading to a meeting when I saw you rush out. Everything okay?" She gestured to Ethan. "My son has a fever." Maxwell's eyes softened as he studied the twins. "Get in, I'll drive you," Pride warred with practicality. "We're fine taking the bus. In this rain? With a sick child?" Maxwell opened the door. "Please." Once settled in the car's luxurious interior, Emily gave her address, a modest apartment on the outskirts of the city. "Mommy, who's this man?" Lily asked, her curious eyes examining Maxwell. "Mr. Thompson is Mommy's." "Boss," Emily explained. "You have pretty eyes," Lily declared to Maxwell. Like Ethan's, Emily tensed, noticing for the first time the uncanny similarity between Maxwell's steel blue eyes and her son's. A coincidence, surely. Maxwell smiled at Lily. "Thank you. You have pretty eyes too, just like your mother's." The drive passed with Lily chattering about kindergarten while Ethan dozed against Emily's shoulder. Maxwell listened attentively, asking questions and laughing at Lily's animated stories. At their apartment building, Maxwell insisted on helping. Before Emily could protest, he carried Ethan up 3 flights of stairs while she guided us skipping. Lily. Inside the apartment, small but meticulously kept, Emily's embarrassment fought with gratitude. "Thank you. This is very kind." Maxwell surveyed the cozy living room with its worn furniture and walls decorated with the twins' artwork. "Happy to help." While Emily settled Ethan on the couch, Maxwell noticed a framed photograph. Emily, with newborn, twins, exhaustion and joy mingling on her face, standing alone. "Where should I put these?" he asked, holding medication he'd retrieved from Emily's bag. Working together, they soon had Ethan comfortable with fresh pajamas, medicine, and his favorite, stuffed bear. Lily appointed herself nurse's assistant, bringing water and placing a cool cloth on her brother's forehead. "You're good with them," Emily observed as Maxwell told the twins a story about a magical forest. "They make it easy," he replied, something wistful in his expression. "Beautiful children." Later, as he prepared to leave, Maxwell paused at the door. "You've built something special here, Emily." "It's not much, but it's everything," he interrupted gently. "Family, love, that's what matters." For a moment, the professional barrier between them wavered. Something deeper flickered in Maxwell's eyes, something that made Emily's heart race with déjà vu. Then he straightened, CEO once more. "Take tomorrow off. Your promotion can wait a day." As his car disappeared down the street, Emily couldn't shake a disturbing thought. In just a few hours, Maxwell Thompson had fit into their little family as if he'd always belonged there. For days, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that Maxwell Thompson was somehow familiar. Each time their paths crossed at the office, she caught him watching her with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. Her promotion to lead designer had sent shockwaves through the department. Vanessa had been transferred to another division, but her allies remained, whispering that Emily had used other methods to secure her position. "Good morning, Ms. Parker." Emily jumped, finding Maxwell standing at her office door, her new office with a window overlooking the city skyline. "Mr. Thompson," she replied, straightening. "I didn't expect you today. Just checking on your progress with the Westridge account." He stepped inside, his presence immediately filling the small space. "How are you settling in?" "Fine, thank you. The team is adjusting." Maxwell smiled knowingly. Change is difficult for everyone, but talent should be recognized. As he examined her design sketches, Emily studied him surreptitiously. The line of his jaw, the way his brow furrowed in concentration, Why did these details seem so achingly familiar? These are excellent, he finally said. You're as talented as I remembered. Emily frowned. As you remembered? Before he could respond, Emily's phone rang. The kindergarten again. I'm sorry I should take this, she said, anxiety spiking. Maxwell nodded and stepped outside while Emily answered. When she emerged minutes later, her face was pale. What's wrong? He asked immediately. Lily fell on the playground. They think she might need stitches. Emily gathered her things with shaking hands. I have to go. I'll drive you, Maxwell said without hesitation. 20 minutes later, they sat in the emergency room as a doctor stitched Lily's forehead. The little girl was being impossibly brave, her small hand squeezing Emily's while Maxwell distracted her with a story about a princess who got a magical mark that granted her special powers. Just like Harry Potter's scar? Lily asked, wide-eyed. Even better, Maxwell assured her. This one will make you extra smart. Emily watched him with the children, noticing how naturally he interacted with them, how Ethan had immediately gravitated to his side, and how Maxwell seemed to instinctively know what each child needed. Comfort for Lily, adventure for Restless, Ethan. After Lily was discharged, Maxwell insisted on taking them for ice cream. Sitting in the cheerful parlor, watching Maxwell help Ethan wipe chocolate from his chin while Lily chattered about her magical stitches, Emily felt a strange sense of completeness she hadn't experienced in years. Thank you, she said softly when the twins were occupied with their desserts. For everything today. Maxwell's smile was warm. It's my pleasure. They're extraordinary children. They are, Emily agreed proudly. They're my whole world. They deserve that devotion. His expression turned serious. Emily, there's something I should tell you. I think well, isn't this cozy? Came a smooth voice. Richard Blackwood stood beside their table, his cold gaze taking in the scene. Family outing, Maxwell? The warmth in Maxwell's eyes vanished. Richard, what are you doing here? Same as you, taking a break. Richard's attention shifted to the twins. Charming children, the boy especially, reminds me of someone. The tension between the two men was palpable. We should go, Emily said, gathering the children's things. It's getting late. Maxwell helped buckle the twins into his car. As he closed the door, Richard approached. Careful, cousin, he warned quietly. You're playing a dangerous game. Stay away from them, Richard, Maxwell replied, his voice low and threatening. I mean it. As they drove away, Emily couldn't help wondering what secrets lurked beneath the surface of Maxwell Thompson's sudden interest in her little family. We need to talk, Maxwell announced, appearing at Emily's office. After late Friday afternoon, Emily looked up from her sketches, surprised. Is something wrong with the Westridge designs? No, they're excellent. Maxwell closed the door. It's something personal. Emily's heart skipped. Since the hospital visit 3 days ago, Maxwell had kept his distance, though she'd caught him, watching her several times across the office. I'd like to take you and the twins to dinner tonight, he said. There's something important I need to discuss. Emily hesitated. Mr. Thompson. Maxwell, please. Maxwell, she corrected, the name feeling strangely right on her lips. I appreciate everything you've done, but this is crossing professional boundaries. He sighed, running a hand through his dark hair. You're right, but this can't wait. His expression grew serious. My grandmother is arriving tomorrow. Emily blinked, confused by this apparent non sequitur. Your grandmother? Eleanor Thompson, matriarch of the Thompson family and holder of 10% of the company's shares. Maxwell paced the small office. She's been pressuring me for years to marry and provide heirs to the Thompson legacy. I don't understand what this has to do with me. Maxwell stopped pacing. She's announced that whoever marries and produces the next generation of Thompsons first, me or my cousin Richard, will inherit her shares. Emily's confusion deepened. And? Richard will do anything to win those shares. He's already planning to announce his engagement. Maxwell leaned forward, his blue eyes intense. I need to counter him. Understanding dawned. You want to use me and my children as props in a corporate power play? Emily stood, indignation rising. Absolutely not. That's not... Maxwell began, then stopped, frustration evident. I'm explaining this badly. I think you've explained it perfectly, Emily replied coldly. I should have known your interest in us wasn't genuine. Maxwell reached for her hand, which she quickly withdrew. Emily, please listen. Richard is dangerous. If he gains control of those shares, he'll dismantle everything my father built. Hundreds will lose their jobs, including you. Emily wavered. Why me? You could choose anyone. Something softened in Maxwell's expression. Because with you, it wouldn't be entirely pretend. The admission hung between them, charged with unspoken possibilities. What exactly are you proposing? Emily finally asked. A temporary arrangement. We tell my grandmother we're married. The twins would be presented as my stepchildren. Maxwell's gaze was steady. After the shares are secured, we can quietly separate. You'd receive financial security for you and the children. Emily's mind raced. Financial security meant better schools for the twins, a safer neighborhood, no more crushing worry about making ends meet. Yet the idea of deceiving an elderly woman troubled her. Your grandmother would believe this sudden marriage? Maxwell smiled faintly. She's been after me to settle down for so long, she'll be too delighted to question it. Emily studied him, searching for signs of manipulation. Instead, she found only sincerity and something else, something that stirred memories of moonlight and promises. Let me think about it, she finally said. Of course. Maxwell moved toward the door, then hesitated. Emily, regardless of your decision, I want you to know that my interest in you and the twins has never been anything but genuine. As he left, Emily sank back into her chair, torn between opportunity and instinct. Maxwell Thompson was offering her children security, but at what cost? And why couldn't she shake the feeling that there was more to his proposal than he was revealing? Outside her office, Maxwell leaned against the wall, closing his eyes briefly. He hadn't told her the complete truth, that from the moment he saw her in that conference room, he'd recognized the woman who'd captured his heart 5 years ago, the woman he'd been searching for ever since. Emily stared at the simple gold band on her finger, still adjusting to its unfamiliar weight. Just 24 hours after Maxwell's proposal, she found herself married to one of the wealthiest men in the country. Are you sure about this? She whispered, as Maxwell's limousine approached the imposing Thompson estate. Maxwell squeezed her hand reassuringly. Absolutely, just be yourself. My grandmother will adore you. In the back seat, Lily and Ethan fidgeted in their Sunday best, eyes wide with excitement. Is your grandma nice? Lily asked Maxwell. She can be. Formidable, Maxwell replied carefully. But she has a good heart. Emily smoothed Ethan's cowlick for the 10th time. Remember what we practiced? This is Mr. Maxwell's grandmother, and we're going to be very polite. Because we're pretending to be a family? Ethan asked innocently. Maxwell and Emily exchanged alarmed glances. What do you mean, sweetheart? Emily asked cautiously. Ethan shrugged. You said Mr. Maxwell is our new daddy, but we've only known him a little while. So we're pretending, right? Maxwell knelt before the boy, his expression serious. Ethan, sometimes families come together in unexpected ways. This might feel like pretend now, but I promise to be the best father I can be to you and Lily, for as long as you'll have me. Something in his sincerity made Emily's chest tighten. The car stopped before she could dwell on it. The Thompson estate was palatial, a sprawling mansion set amidst manicured gardens. As they approached the massive front doors, Emily fought the urge to grab the children and flee. The doors swung open to reveal a distinguished woman in her 80s, silver hair coiled elegantly, posture straight as a ramrod. Grandma, Maxwell greeted her, kissing her cheek. May I present my wife Emily and our children Lily and Ethan, Eleanor Thompson's piercing blue eyes, identical to Maxwell's and Ethan's, surveyed them critically. Emily held her breath. "So you've finally done it?" Eleanor said at last. "Married without a word to your family." "It happened quickly," Maxwell explained. "We wanted to start our life together without delay." Eleanor's gaze lingered on the twins. "And these children? You've become an instant father?" Before Maxwell could answer, Lily stepped forward with a small curtsy. "Hello, I'm Lily Parker Thompson. I'm 5 3/4. Thank you for inviting us to your castle." The formidable matriarch's expression softened visibly. "Well, aren't you a proper little lady?" She bent slightly, addressing both children. "And do you like your new father?" "He's the best," Ethan declared enthusiastically. "He carries me on his shoulders and tells the best stories, and he made Lily's stitches magical." Eleanor raised an eyebrow at Maxwell, who explained Lily's playground accident. As he spoke, Eleanor's attention shifted to Ethan, her gaze sharpening. "My dear," she interrupted, addressing Emily, "would you and Maxwell bring the children inside? I'm afraid these old bones can't stand in doorways for long." As they followed Eleanor through the mansion's opulent interior, Emily noticed the older woman repeatedly glancing at Ethan, a thoughtful expression on her face. In the grand sitting room, servants appeared with refreshments. Eleanor insisted on pouring tea herself, watching as the twins carefully handled the delicate china cups. "Such well-mannered children," she remarked, "a credit to their mother's raising." "Thank you," Emily replied, relaxing slightly. "They're my greatest joy. And now they're Maxwell's joy as well." Eleanor's gaze was penetrating. "Tell me, my dear, do the children see their biological father?" Emily tensed. "No, he's not in the picture." Eleanor nodded, then turned to Maxwell. "Richard will be joining us shortly. He's eager to meet your new family." Maxwell's jaw tightened. "I'm sure he is." As if on cue, the sitting room doors opened, revealing Richard Blackwood's smiling face. Behind him stood a stunning blonde woman. "Cousin." "Surprise, surprise," Richard announced. "I'd like you all to meet Vanessa Lewis, my fiancée." Emily froze at the sight of Vanessa, her former tormentor now draped possessively on Richard's arm. Vanessa's triumphant smirk said everything. The tables had turned. "What a lovely surprise," Eleanor said, though her tone suggested otherwise. "Richard, you didn't mention you were bringing a guest." "Vanessa and I wanted to share our happiness," Richard replied smoothly. His gaze settled on the twins. "And I see Maxwell has been keeping secrets too. Charming children." Vanessa's eyes widened with recognition. "Emily, you married the CEO?" Her laugh was brittle. "How convenient." Maxwell's arm slid protectively around Emily's waist. "Vanessa, I trust you're enjoying your new position in the marketing department?" Vanessa's smile faltered. "It's different." "Grandma," Lily suddenly exclaimed, pointing to a portrait above the fireplace. "Is that Mr. Maxwell when he was little?" Eleanor smiled. "Yes, dear. Maxwell was about 6 in that painting." "He looks just like Ethan," Lily declared. A charged silence fell over the room. Emily's heart thundered as all eyes shifted between the portrait, Maxwell, and Ethan. The resemblance was indeed striking. The same intense blue eyes, the same slight dimple. In the left cheek, Eleanor's gaze sharpened. "Yes," she said slowly. "The resemblance is remarkable." Richard's jaw tightened. "Remarkable indeed, almost as if they were related." "Just a coincidence," Emily interjected quickly. "Many children have blue eyes." Eleanor wasn't deterred. "How old did you say the twins are, my dear?" 5, Emily answered, feeling trapped. 5, Eleanor repeated thoughtfully. "And when exactly did you and Maxwell meet?" Before Emily could fabricate an answer, Maxwell spoke. "We met briefly 5 years ago, lost touch, then reconnected recently." He squeezed Emily's hand in warning. "The rest is our private business." Eleanor nodded, though her expression remained speculative. "Of course. Family history is important to me, that's all." The afternoon continued with increasing tension. Richard and Vanessa made thinly veiled comments about convenient marriages and gold digging, while Eleanor observed everything with shrewd eyes. When the twins grew restless, Emily excused herself to take them to the garden. Once alone, she leaned against a stone balustrade, breathing deeply. "Quite the performance in there," came Richard's voice behind her. Emily turned. "I'm not performing anything." Richard stepped closer. "Please, this sudden marriage? Maxwell doesn't do anything without calculating every angle. And you, a struggling single mother suddenly marrying the boss? It's transparent." "You don't know anything about us," Emily replied, forcing confidence into her voice. "I know Maxwell was obsessed with finding someone after returning from Asia, someone he met 5 years ago." Richard's gaze drifted to the twins playing nearby. Around the time those children were conceived, Emily's blood ran cold. "What are you implying?" "Just wondering about coincidences," Richard smiled thinly. "My cousin disappears for a night during a company retreat 5 years ago. 9 months later, a new employee gives birth to twins with Thompson blue eyes." Emily struggled to maintain her composure. "You should leave." "Just a friendly warning," Richard replied. "Maxwell will drop you once he gets grandmother's shares. That's all he cares about, the company." As Richard walked away, Emily watched her children. Ethan with his startling resemblance to the man she'd just married. A man who might be their biological father. A man who didn't know. She'd agreed to this charade for her children's security, never imagining it might uncover the truth she'd kept hidden for 5 years, even from herself. That night, after settling the twins in a guest room at the estate, at Eleanor's insistence, Emily found herself alone with Maxwell on the moonlit terrace. "Your grandmother suspects something," Emily said quietly, the way she kept looking at Ethan. Maxwell nodded, his expression troubled. "She's always been perceptive." "And Richard?" Emily hesitated. "He implied that he knows about our arrangement." "Richard has always been jealous of my position in the family," Maxwell said, his voice hardening. "Don't let him intimidate you." Emily turned to face him directly. "Maxwell, I need to ask you something. 5 years ago, were you at the Green Valley Company retreat?" Maxwell went still. "Yes. Why?" Emily's heart raced. "Did we meet there?" The silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken possibilities. "Was there for one night only," Maxwell finally said. "I met someone special. We connected instantly. I gave her my watch and promised to return the next day, but an emergency called me overseas." His eyes searched hers. "I spent 5 years looking for her." Emily's hand went to her throat where the memory of a beautiful watch hung heavy. "The woman at the retreat. What was her name?" "She never told me her full name." "Just M." Emily closed her eyes, memories flooding back. The handsome stranger who'd introduced himself only as Max, their instant connection, the night they'd spent together, the watch she'd kept safely hidden until it disappeared during a move. "It was you," she whispered. "All this time, it was you." Maxwell stepped closer, his eyes intense. "I never stopped searching. I hired investigators, but they found nothing. When I returned and saw you in that conference room, something felt familiar, but I couldn't place it." "I didn't recognize you either," Emily admitted. "You were different then. More relaxed, less CEO-like." Maxwell's hand tentatively touched her cheek. "Emily, there's something you should know." The terrace doors burst open. Richard stood there, his expression triumphant. "Am I interrupting?" he asked, not bothering to hide his satisfaction. "Grandmother wants to see you both immediately." In Eleanor's private study, the matriarch sat regally behind an antique desk. Her expression was unreadable. "I've been thinking about our family legacy," she announced without preamble, "and I've decided that a DNA test is in order." Emily's knees weakened. Maxwell steadied her with a hand at her waist. "A DNA test?" he repeated. "For what purpose?" Eleanor fixed them with a penetrating stare. "To determine if those children are Thompson blood. I won't have imposters claiming our family name." "This is unnecessary," Maxwell argued. Emily and I are married. The children are mine by law. By law, perhaps. But by blood. Eleanor's gaze shifted to Emily. I want the truth, young lady. Are those children Maxwell's biological offspring? Before Emily could respond, Richard interjected, Grandmother, they're clearly trying to deceive you. This marriage is a sham. Enough. Eleanor slammed her hand on the desk. I want a DNA test. Tomorrow. If those children are proven to be Maxwell's, they will be recognized as true Thompsons and included in my will. If not, her expression hardened. This marriage will be annulled, and Richard will receive my shares. As they left the study, Richard smirked. Well played, cousin, but your little charade is about to end. Once alone, Emily faced Maxwell, her composure crumbling. What do we do now? Maxwell looked shell-shocked. Emily, is there any possibility that I'm their father? That night we spent together. I don't know, she whispered. The timing. It could be. But how can we explain this to the twins, to your grandmother? We'll figure it out, Maxwell promised, pulling her into his arms. Together. The next morning arrived with suffocating tension. Emily barely slept, her mind racing with implications. If Maxwell was indeed the twins' father, how would she explain keeping this from them? If he wasn't, would he end their arrangement, leaving them to face Richard's wrath? Breakfast was a silent affair, with Eleanor watching the twins closely while Richard and Vanessa exchanged smug glances. Maxwell maintained a calm facade, but Emily noticed his clenched jaw and white knuckles. The doctor will arrive at 10, Eleanor announced. I've arranged for a private lab to process the results immediately. Grandma, Maxwell began, this is unfair to the children. They don't understand. They needn't understand, Eleanor interrupted. A simple cheek swab, that's all. Emily turned to the twins. Sweethearts, would you like to explore the garden before the doctor comes? Outside, Emily sat the children on a stone bench. There's going to be a nice doctor coming today, she explained, gently. He'll rub a cotton swab on your cheek. It won't hurt at all. Like when the doctor checks for strep throat? Ethan asked. Exactly like that. Emily smiled, relieved by their innocence. Why does he need to check our cheeks? Lily questioned. Are we sick? Before Emily could answer, Maxwell appeared. May I join you? Emily nodded, and Maxwell sat beside Ethan, their matching profiles striking in the morning light. The doctor isn't checking if you're sick, Maxwell explained. He's checking if we're related. Related? Lily frowned. Like family, Maxwell clarified. Sometimes families need to know for certain who belongs together. Ethan looked up at him. Are you really our new daddy now? Maxwell's expression softened. I hope to be if that's what you want, but there's something important you should know. Sometimes when adults care about each other, they create children together. Emily's breath caught. Maxwell. He continued gently. A long time ago, before you were born, your mother and I met. We cared about each other very much. Then I had to go away, and I didn't know your mother was going to have you. You're our real daddy? Ethan whispered, his blue eyes, Maxwell's eyes, wide with wonder. We don't know for certain, Emily interjected. That's what the doctor is checking. Lily looked confused. But you said our daddy was gone forever. I thought he was, Emily admitted. I didn't know Mr. Maxwell was the same person I met years ago. The twins fell silent, processing this revelation. Then Lily spoke. If you're our real daddy, can we call you Daddy instead of Mr. Maxwell? Maxwell's eyes glistened. I would like that very much. When the doctor arrived, the twins approached the procedure with curiosity rather than fear. Eleanor observed everything with sharp eyes while Richard paced impatiently. The results will be ready in a few hours, the doctor announced after collecting samples. Those hours stretched interminably. Emily took the twins to the estate's playroom, trying to distract herself with their innocent games. Maxwell was called away to an emergency board meeting that Richard had mysteriously scheduled. Late afternoon, Eleanor summoned everyone to her study. The doctor stood beside her desk, holding an envelope. Richard and Vanessa positioned themselves, strategically near Eleanor, clearly expecting victory. "The results," Eleanor announced, accepting the envelope. She opened it slowly, her expression unreadable as she scanned the contents. Emily held the twins' hands tightly, preparing for either outcome. Maxwell stood tall, his gaze fixed on his grandmother. Eleanor looked up, her eyes finding Maxwell's, then Emily's, then finally resting on the twins. "Well," she said, her voice suddenly thick with emotion, "it seems we have 2 new Thompsons to welcome to the family." The room exploded into chaos. Richard snatched the papers from Eleanor, his face contorting with disbelief. "This is impossible," he sputtered. "There must be a mistake." Eleanor reclaimed the results with surprising agility for her age. "The DNA doesn't lie, Richard. Maxwell is the biological father of these children." Vanessa stepped forward, her perfect composure cracking. "This was your plan all along, wasn't it, Emily? To trap Maxwell with these children." "That's enough." Maxwell's voice cut through the tension. He knelt before the twins, who looked confused by the adults' reactions. "Ethan, Lily, this means I really am your father. I'm your daddy." "For real?" Ethan asked, his blue eyes, undeniably Thompson eyes, wide with wonder. "For real," Maxwell confirmed, his voice thick with emotion. Lily looked from Maxwell to Emily. "But why didn't you know, Mommy? Why didn't you tell us?" Emily felt all eyes on her, judgment heavy in the air. "It's complicated, sweetheart. Sometimes grown-ups lose each other before they know everything important." Eleanor cleared her throat. "The children should rest before dinner. This has been quite overwhelming for them." Once the twins were safely upstairs with a nanny Eleanor had summoned, the real confrontation began. "Explain yourself," Eleanor demanded, fixing Emily with a steely gaze. "You gave birth to Maxwell's children and never informed him?" Emily straightened her shoulders. "I knew him as Max, a man I met at a company retreat. We spent one night together. The next day he was gone. No last name, no contact information, just his watch, which I lost years ago during a move." "I left her my contact details with the hotel," Maxwell interjected. "When I returned, they said she'd never inquired." Richard snorted. "How convenient. Perhaps the hotel misplaced them, or perhaps someone intercepted." "Silence," Eleanor commanded. "What matters now is that Maxwell's children have been found. The Thompson bloodline continues." She turned to Richard. "Your machinations end here. The shares will go to Maxwell's legitimate heirs." Richard's face darkened. "This isn't over," he hissed before storming out, Vanessa trailing behind. That evening, after the twins were asleep, Maxwell found Emily on the same terrace where they'd reconnected the night before. "I've spent 5 years searching for you," he said quietly, joining her at the balustrade. 5 years wondering what happened, why you never tried to find me." Emily gazed at the moonlit garden. "I did look for you. But you were gone, and no one at the retreat knew who Max was. I thought you'd given me a false name, that you'd never meant to see me again. And when you discovered you were pregnant, I was alone, scared, without family support." Emily turned to face him. "By the time I was hired at Thompson Enterprises, I was already a single mother of twins. I never connected you to Maxwell Thompson, CEO. And now?" Maxwell asked, his eyes searching hers. "Where do we go from here? Our marriage may have started as an arrangement, but things have changed." Emily hesitated. The twins need stability. They've just discovered their father after believing they didn't have one. And there's still so much we don't know about each other. "Then let me know you," Maxwell said earnestly. "Let me be part of our children's lives. Properly. This doesn't have to remain a business arrangement, Emily." Before she could respond, Maxwell's phone rang. His expression darkened as he answered. "When? Are you certain?" He ended the call, his jaw tight. "Richard has called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow. He's making his move to discredit me and you." "What does that mean?" "It means Maxwell said grimly. That our problems are far from over. Richard won't accept defeat easily. As if confirming his words, Emily's phone chimed with a text message. It was from an unknown number, containing a photo of her and Maxwell on the terrace, closely framed to suggest intimacy, with the caption, "Thompson CEO's secret family, full exposé tomorrow." The gossip columns had their story. Their private world was about to become very public. Headlines screamed across every newspaper and digital platform the next morning. Thompson CEO's secret love child scandal, and hidden heirs, Thompson dynasty's explosive truth. Emily's phone buzzed relentlessly with calls from reporters and curious colleagues. Maxwell arrived at Emily's guest room at dawn, his expression grim. "We need to leave. The press is gathering at the gates." "How did they find out so quickly?" Emily asked, hurriedly packing the twins' belongings. "Richard works fast," Maxwell replied tersely. "My security team is preparing for our departure. Eleanor will handle the press here." The twins, still drowsy with sleep, sensed the tension. "Mommy, why are we leaving?" Lily asked, clutching her stuffed rabbit. "We're going to another safe place," Emily explained gently. "There are some people outside who want to take our picture, but we don't want that right now." They escaped through a private entrance, Maxwell's security team forming a protective barrier. As they sped away in a black SUV with tinted windows, Emily glimpsed the chaos they'd left behind, photographers climbing gates, news vans blocking the driveway. "Where are we going?" she asked, holding the twins close. "My private residence outside the city," Maxwell answered. "It's secure, isolated, and unknown to the press." They arrived at a modernist mansion nestled in dense forest. Inside, the home was unexpectedly warm and inviting, not the cold bachelor pad Emily had imagined. "The children's rooms are upstairs," Maxwell said, directing his staff to settle them in. "My assistant has arranged for clothes and necessities to be delivered." When the twins were occupied exploring their new rooms, Maxwell led Emily to his study. "The board meeting is at noon," he said, pouring himself a strong coffee. "Richard is moving to have me removed as CEO, claiming my secret family demonstrates poor judgment and dishonesty." "This is my fault," Emily whispered. "If I had known who you were, if I had tried harder to find you—" "No," Maxwell interrupted firmly. "This is Richard's doing. He's been waiting for an opportunity like this for years." Emily studied Maxwell's face, the face she'd first fallen for 5 years ago, now lined with new worries. "What can I do to help?" "Be prepared for scrutiny," he warned. "They'll dig into your background, question your motives, suggest you manipulated this situation." He hesitated. "Richard has already implied to board members that you deliberately kept the children from me to extort money later." Emily's indignation flared. "That's absurd. I didn't even know you were Maxwell Thompson until weeks ago." "I know," he assured her, taking her hands. "And I'll make sure the board knows too." His phone rang. "Eleanor." Maxwell put her on speaker. "The situation is worse than we thought." Eleanor's voice was tight with controlled fury. "Richard has convinced 3 board members to vote against you. He's claiming your judgment is compromised, that you've been hiding your relationship with Emily to avoid scrutiny of her employment." Maxwell's jaw clenched. 3 votes isn't enough." "There's more," Eleanor continued. "He has evidence that Emily once applied for a position directly under you 2 years ago, which you rejected. He's spinning it as proof that you knew about her all along and deliberately kept her at a distance." Emily gasped. "I did apply for a senior design position that was reporting to the executive team, but I never knew it would have meant working with Maxwell directly." "It doesn't matter what's true," Eleanor said grimly. "It's what Richard can make sound true. You need to present a united front. Bring Emily and the children to the meeting." After Eleanor hung up, Maxwell turned to Emily, his expression conflicted. "I won't force you into the spotlight." Emily squared her shoulders. "Those are my children, our children. I won't hide while Richard tries to destroy their father." Maxwell's eyes softened. "You're remarkable, you know that?" For a moment they stood close, the air between them charged with unspoken feelings. Then Maxwell's phone chimed again. More crisis management. As he took the call, Emily looked around his study, noticing for the first time the framed photograph on his desk. It showed a younger Maxwell in front of a temple in Asia, and he was wearing a watch identical to the one he'd given her 5 years ago. He'd kept its twin all this time. The Thompson Enterprises boardroom fell silent as Emily entered with Maxwell and the twins. 12 board members sat around a massive table with Richard positioned prominently at the far end. His smirk faltered at the sight of the complete family unit. "This is highly irregular," he protested. "Children have no place in a board meeting." Eleanor, seated at the head of the table, raised an imperious eyebrow. "As the twins are the subject of this emergency meeting you called, Richard, I disagree." Maxwell guided Emily and the children to seats prepared beside Eleanor. The board members stared openly at Ethan, the Thompson resemblance undeniable in his features. "Ladies and gentlemen," Maxwell addressed the room, his voice steady. "I understand concerns have been raised about my judgment and transparency. Let me clarify the situation. 5 years ago, I met Emily briefly during a company retreat before departing for Asia. I was unaware she was pregnant when I left. Upon my return, I reconnected with her, still not knowing the twins were mine until the DNA test confirmed it yesterday." Richard scoffed. "A convenient story, but the fact remains you've been hiding a relationship with a Thompson employee." "I have hidden nothing," Maxwell cut in sharply. "Emily was hired through normal channels while I was overseas. Our reunion was coincidental." An older board member leaned forward. "Mr. Blackwood suggests Ms. Parker deliberately kept your children from you, possibly for financial gain." Emily felt her cheeks burn with indignation. Before Maxwell could defend her, she spoke up. "I never knew Maxwell Thompson was the man I met 5 years ago. I knew him only as Max, with no last name. By the time I realized who he was, we were already navigating a complex situation." "And we're to believe this fairy tale?" Richard countered. "That the CEO's children were working right under his nose for years, completely by coincidence?" Eleanor cleared her throat. "Perhaps we should hear from someone else." She nodded to a woman who had just entered. "This is Ms. Wilson, former events coordinator for Green Valley Resort." Ms. Wilson approached the table. "I've brought the visitor logs from the company retreat 5 years ago. They confirm Mr. Thompson arrived unannounced, gave only his first name to staff, and left abruptly the following morning due to a family emergency." "And what of the contact information Mr. Thompson claims to have left for Ms. Parker?" one board member asked. "There was indeed an envelope left at reception," Ms. Wilson confirmed. "However, our records show it was collected by a Mr. Richard Blackwood, who claimed he would deliver it personally." All eyes turned to Richard, whose complexion had gone ashen. Eleanor's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Is this true, Richard?" she demanded. Richard's confident facade crumbled. I was protecting the company. Maxwell was needed in Asia. A relationship would have been a distraction." Maxwell's expression hardened to granite. "You kept me from finding Emily for 5 years. You kept my children from knowing their father." "It was business," Richard snapped. "You've always put personal feelings above the company's interests." "I did what was necessary." "By stealing my letter?" Maxwell's voice was deadly quiet. "By hiding my children from me? By ensuring you stayed focused on your responsibilities?" Richard pounded the table. "And I was right to do so. Look at you. Now distracted? Emotional, making decisions based on feelings rather than strategy." Throughout this exchange, the twins had remained quiet, eyes wide as they watched the adults argue. Suddenly, Lily stood up, her small face determined. "You're a mean man," she declared, pointing at Richard. "You made my daddy miss us growing up." The boardroom fell silent, the pure, childish accusation striking more powerfully than any adult argument could have. Ethan joined his sister, his blue eyes, Maxwell's eyes, flashing with indignation. "We didn't have a daddy because of you." Richard looked taken aback, clearly unprepared to face the human consequences of his machinations. Eleanor broke the silence. "I believe we've heard enough." Her gaze swept the room. "All in favor of removing Richard Blackwood from his position as COO and from this board, effective immediately. Hands rose around the table. Richard's few allies looked away, abandoning him. This is outrageous, Richard sputtered. You can't. We just did, Eleanor interrupted coldly. Security will escort you from the building. As Richard was led away, still protesting, Maxwell turned to Emily and the twins, pulling them into a protective embrace. It's over, he murmured. He can't hurt us anymore. But as Emily caught Vanessa's venomous glare from the doorway, she wasn't so sure. The battle for their family might have just entered a new phase. 3 days after Richard's removal, a fragile peace settled over the Thompson household. Emily and the twins had remained at Maxwell's private residence, sheltered from the media storm that continued to rage. Eleanor had joined them, eager to make up for lost time with her great-grandchildren. They're flourishing, Eleanor observed as she watched Maxwell teaching the twins to play chess in the sunroom. It's remarkable how quickly they've bonded with him. Emily nodded, her heart full watching her children with their father. They've wanted this their whole lives, a complete family. And you? Eleanor asked pointedly. What do you want, Emily? The question caught her off guard. I want my children to be happy and secure. That's a mother's answer, Eleanor replied. I'm asking about the woman. Before Emily could respond, Maxwell's security chief appeared with an urgent expression. Ms. Parker, there's a situation at your apartment building. A fire has been reported. Emily gasped. How bad? Your unit has been significantly damaged, he reported grimly. Preliminary reports suggest arson. Maxwell was beside her instantly. Was anyone hurt? No casualties, sir, but there's more. The security chief handed Maxwell a tablet displaying security footage. This was captured by cameras across the street. The grainy video showed Vanessa Lewis entering Emily's building. Shortly before smoke began billowing from the windows. That vindictive witch, Eleanor growled. First Richard, now his puppet. They won't stop until they've destroyed everything. Maxwell's expression hardened. Call the police. Forward this evidence immediately. As Maxwell stepped away to make calls, Emily sank onto a sofa, the reality crashing down. Everything we owned was in that apartment. The children's baby books, their first drawings, our whole life. Eleanor placed a weathered hand over Emily's. Material things can be replaced. Your family is safe, that's what matters. Emily fought back tears. This isn't fair to the twins. They've barely adjusted to finding their father, and now they've lost their home. Before Eleanor could respond, the twins burst into the room, their game forgotten as they sensed the tension. Mommy. What's wrong? Lily asked, climbing onto Emily's lap. Sweethearts, Emily began, struggling to find the right words. There's been a fire at our apartment. Our home? Ethan's eyes widened. Emily nodded. I'm afraid a lot of our things are gone. The twins processed this information with surprising calm. Then Ethan asked, But we still have each other, right? And Daddy and Great-Grandma Eleanor? Of course, Emily assured him, touched by his resilience. Then we're okay, Lily declared with childish certainty. Daddy said home is where your family is, not things. Maxwell returned, his expression grim until he saw his family gathered together. His features softened as he joined them. The police are on their way to question Vanessa, he informed them. Security has been increased here. What happens now? Emily asked softly. Maxwell hesitated, then took her hand. I think it's time we stop pretending this is temporary. His eyes were earnest as they met hers. Emily, I've spent 5 years searching for you and another month falling in love with you all over again. This marriage may have started as an arrangement, but my feelings are real. Emily's heart raced. Maxwell. I know it's soon, he continued. I know we've faced extraordinary circumstances, but I don't want to waste another day without you and the children truly being my family. Eleanor discreetly ushered the twins into the garden, giving them privacy. Once alone, Emily faced Maxwell. How can you be sure? We've been caught in a whirlwind since the moment you stepped into that conference room. Maybe what you're feeling is the excitement of finding your children, or gratitude for bringing them into your life. It's more than that, Maxwell insisted, taking both her hands in his. 5 years ago, I spent one night with you and never forgot. These past weeks, I've seen your strength, your kindness, your fierce protection of our children. How could I not fall in love with you? Emily's eyes filled with tears. I'm afraid, Maxwell, afraid of believing in this only to have it fall apart. The children have already been through so much. Maxwell gently brushed a tear from her cheek. Then let's promise each other one thing. Whatever happens between us, we'll always put the twins first. Before Emily could respond, Maxwell's phone rang. His expression darkened as he answered. When? Are you certain? He ended the call, his face grave. Vanessa has disappeared, and Richard has been released on bail. The morning sun filtered through the grand windows of the Thompson estate, illuminating a room in chaos. Security personnel patrolled the grounds while police officers gathered statements. Emily clutched her mug of untouched coffee, watching Maxwell pace as he coordinated with authorities on the phone. They've frozen Richard's accounts, Maxwell announced after ending his call. But there's still no sign of him or Vanessa. Eleanor entered, looking every bit the formidable matriarch despite the worry in her eyes. The children are asking questions. They sense something is wrong. Emily sighed, setting down her mug. They deserve the truth. A simplified version, at least. I agree, Maxwell said, joining them. We'll tell them together. They found the twins in the playroom, constructing an elaborate fort from cushions and blankets. Their innocent play amid such turmoil brought tears to Emily's eyes. Lily, Ethan, Maxwell called gently. We need to talk to you. The children emerged from their fort, faces serious as they recognized the adults' expressions. Is the bad man coming back? Ethan asked, his blue eyes, so like his father's, wide with concern. Maxwell knelt to their level. Some people are upset because of the changes in our family. They might try to cause problems, but I promise I won't let anything happen to you. Why are they mad at us? Lily's small brow furrowed. We didn't do anything wrong. No, sweetheart, you didn't, Emily assured her, pulling both children close. Sometimes adults get jealous or angry about things that aren't fair. Like when Tommy was mad that I got to be line leader, Ethan asked. Emily smiled despite herself. Something like that, but more serious. Are we safe here, Daddy? Lily's question was directed at Maxwell, the name Daddy still new but already natural on her lips. Yes, Maxwell answered firmly. I've made sure of it. A commotion outside drew their attention. Through the window, they spotted security guards apprehending someone at the gate. Maxwell's phone rang immediately. Stay with the children, he instructed before rushing out. Eleanor moved to the window, her expression darkening. It's Richard's assistant. Minutes later, Maxwell returned, his face pale. Richard's assistant came to warn us. Richard and Vanessa have taken a private plane. He thinks they're headed to the Thompson Lake House. The lake house? Eleanor's hand flew to her throat. The safe is there, with all the family documents, including the original Thompson Trust. Maxwell finished grimly. If Richard gets his hands on those papers, he could challenge our entire family legacy. Emily stood, decision made. I'll take the children somewhere safe while you deal with Richard. No, Maxwell's voice was firm. We stay together. Richard wants to divide, as that's been his strategy all along. But the children will be safer with us than anywhere else, Maxwell insisted. I won't let our family be separated again. Emily studied his face, seeing the determination there. All right. But promise me, no unnecessary risks. The journey to the remote Thompson Lake House took them through winding mountain roads. The twins dozed in the back seat, exhausted by the morning's events. Eleanor had remained behind to coordinate with authorities and legal teams. I'm sorry, Maxwell said, suddenly breaking the silence. This isn't the life I wanted to give you and the children. Emily reached for his hand. We're together, that's what matters. Maxwell squeezed her fingers. When this is over, I want us to start fresh. No more secrets, no more pretending. I want a real marriage, Emily, if you'll have me. Before Emily could respond, they rounded a bend and the lake house came into view, along with Richard's stolen helicopter on the lawn. Stay in the car with the children, Maxwell instructed, passing Emily his phone. If anything happens, call the security team. They're 10 minutes behind us. Maxwell, wait. Emily grabbed his arm. I can't lose you. The children can't lose you. Not after finally finding you. Maxwell's eyes softened. He leaned forward, pressing his lips to hers in a gentle but fervent kiss. You won't lose me. I promise. As Maxwell approached the lake house, Emily watched with her heart in her throat. The twins stirred in the back seat. Mommy? Lily called sleepily. Where's Daddy? Before Emily could answer, a shot rang out from inside the lake house. Stay here, Emily commanded, her maternal instinct at war with her fear for Maxwell. She locked the car doors and rushed toward the house. Inside, she found Maxwell grappling with Richard. A gun lay on the floor where it had apparently been knocked from Richard's hand. Vanessa was frantically stuffing documents into a bag. Give it up, Richard, Maxwell growled. It's over. Nothing's over, Richard snarled. Those children should have been mine. Everything should have been mine. He lunged for the gun, but Emily was faster. She kicked it across the room, then grabbed a heavy vase and brought it down on Richard's shoulder. He howled in pain as Maxwell pinned him down. Vanessa, seeing her chance slipping away, made a desperate dash for the door, only to run directly into the arriving security team. In the aftermath, as police took Richard and Vanessa into custody, Emily found Maxwell on the lake house porch staring out at the water. Are you all right? She asked, joining him. I am now, he replied, drawing her close. When I saw you rush in, Emily, you could have been hurt. So could you, she countered. We protect each other, that's what family does. Maxwell turned to face her fully. I meant what I said earlier. I want us to be a real family. Not because of the twins, not because of the company, but because I love you. I think I've loved you since that first night 5 years ago. Emily smiled, tears welling in her eyes. I never stopped thinking about you, you know. Even when I thought you'd abandoned me, even when I was struggling alone, there was always something about that night that stayed with me. From the car, two small faces watched their parents embrace. Ethan tugged at the door, determined to join them. Daddy, Mommy, the twins called, racing across the lawn once freed from the car. Maxwell and Emily knelt to receive them, arms open wide. As they huddled together, the family they were always meant to be, Emily knew that whatever challenges came next, they would face them together. I love you, she whispered to Maxwell, the words no longer frightening but liberating. I think I always have. The Thompson family, complete at last, held each other close as the sun began to set over the lake, turning the sky to fire and gold, a perfect backdrop for their new beginning.